Welcome to Muscle Maintenance with InShape Fitness. I'm Coach Kim, and today's podcast is about stability and strength and energy on your feet. It's called Feeling Good on Your Feet. It's the holiday time, and so people, unless you're spending your entire or doing all of your shopping via, your phone, shopping online at Amazon or whatever, you're probably walking around shopping centers, walking around stores, maybe pushing some carts, and maybe spending a lot more time on your feet than you might do otherwise. Now, as the irony of all ironies would be in terms of human mechanics, resting your body, which is, generally either on your butt sitting or on your back lying down, is the opposite of what your body truly craves in terms of energy and in terms of strength and stability. The seated position is the worst position for your body because it is doing damage to your mechanics, your biomechanics, your musculature, the neurons that have to activate your musculature, and actually altering your skeletal anatomy through just the simple act of being on your butt, sitting on your butt for most of the day. So this workout is about getting up, thinking about where your body parts are in space. It's not a difficult workout. In fact, on a scale of 1 to 5, it's somewhere between 1 and 2. But so there are no really complicated exercises involved in this workout. However, we are going to talk about meditative deep breathing. We're going to talk about isometric contractions, where you simply squeeze your muscles as you're standing up or thinking about them. And then we're going to talk a little bit about the basics of the left side of your body versus the right side of your body, and exercises that help you strengthen with the goal of having equilibrium, of equal balance equal balance and equal strength between both sides of your body. So let's begin with a postural systems check. That means that you stand up. You got to be on your feet here. And your feet should be about hip width apart, so that if you're making a straight line from the floor up to your hips, there is a straight up and down line between the ankle, the knee, and then your pelvis, right? The top of your pelvis, the ischium, or your hip bone. And then thinking more about the top part of your body, you're going to tuck in your tailbone a little bit so that your pelvis is straight up and down. I'll talk more about that later. And then you think about keeping your shoulders back, and that your ears and your shoulders should make a line vertically as well. That helps open up your chest so that your breathing is more efficient, and it helps keep your head back, which is another really big part of our modern anatomical challenges. We crane our heads. We are peering forward because we are damn near excited to see what's on our screen, to look down and type on a keyboard on our iPhones or Androids or whatever, to steer a driving wheel, a car. And so our heads are moving forward, and that puts strain on the back of the neck and collapses the throat. But the other thing that it does is that it alters your center of gravity because the head is so heavy. So get your head back and think about whether you can turn your head. You can actually do this now as one of the moving moves, is to bring your feet into a slightly more precarious position, whether your feet are touching one another right beside each other, or maybe even harder, to make them into a heel to toe formation, so that when you turn your head all the way to the right and peer down the length of your right arm, you're going to start to feel a little off balance. And what happens when you feel a little off balance? Well, these are primitive reactions inside of your body, but what turns on are those little muscles that stabilize the body. A lot of them are really small muscles that reside in your ankles and up the side of your lower leg, and then up in through the internal portions of your pelvis, the internal glute muscles, and some of your internal tummy muscles. So as you're turning your head to the right and then slowly turning your head all the way to the left, this is an exercise called the lighthouse. And it is not hard. It's a very simple exercise, but it does require concentration, and it requires a little bit of that postural awareness. Otherwise, you're going to be way off balance, and you're not really going to know that you're doing it accurately. So when I do it, and I have decent balance, I mean, I'm a runner, I'm a marathon runner, and extremely fit, but when I do the Lighthouse, I still wobble a little bit. You'll feel the increased temperature in your feet when you perform this exercise correctly. So you switch your foot position after about a minute. Just again, you can continue the postural systems check as you are actually doing this move, because you have to check in again on those tummy muscles, which you want to keep pulled in. You want to make sure that your butt is tucked in, your tailbone is tucked in so that your pelvis isn't tilting too far forward. And you want to keep your head back. And again, the only moving part is your head here. You're turning your head to the right, and hopefully you can peer down the length of your right arm, and then slowly turn your head to the left. So that's 6 minutes, and we've done 2 exercises. This, again, is not that hard of an exercise routine. And so we did the postural systems check, we did the Lighthouse, and now what I want you to do is simply to execute a high knee march for about 30 seconds to warm up the body a little bit more, activate some of those joints in your hips and in your knees. And then, of course, the one thing that's happening as you're lifting up one knee and then the other, one leg, the legs are not doing the same thing at the same time. They're working independently of one another. And that is a concept that at InShape Fitness we call pivoting. It's one of the 8 priorities of functional movement that we identified through our database of exercises and program design. And pivoting is so important for you to understand, because if you're right-handed and therefore right side dominant, you have a great amount of need to address left side weakness if you want to be physically fit. Now, if you are sedentary, you don't care about physical fitness, you're not planning to adopt any health routine that requires your exercising, you're probably not going to notice this. But when people endeavor to get involved in the pursuit of sustainable health, they begin to go hiking or go biking, they start to feel this difference between the left side and the right side. Now what I want you to do is kick your butt with your heels back. You want to they're called butt kicks, and it can be a walking butt kick, or if you're interested in elevating your heart rate a little bit, you can certainly take that up to a jog. So we did the march in place. Now we're just doing a couple of butt kicks. The other thing that you can do with butt kicks is extend your arms out to the side and palms down, and then make some big circles with your arms. So butt kicks with arm circles. Really, really healthy way to, just activate the body and bring yourself a little bit more energy. The intensity of the end of the year with workplace parties and holiday shopping and family obligations and decorating and just general stuff makes people really, really tired. And if you're really, really tired and you're turning to things like caffeine or sugar, you're not necessarily doing yourself any favors. It is so much nicer to try to drive energy through movement than to increase your energy somewhat superficially through these sugar spikes and other chemicals that will help keep you awake. Moving around is, it's like the old saying, an object in motion tends to stay in motion. Sadly, I live my life this way in many ways. Like once I hit the pillow at the end of the day, I'm done. So I just keep moving until it is the very time. Okay, so now what I want you to do is try to sit into a squat and stand up with the most amount of precision that you can think you might be able to muster to generate. Is to sit down and back into an imaginary chair, but I encourage you to use a real chair if you need to, because you want to sit down with an effort to keep your feet straight, right? Your feet should be parallel to one another, and this is a standard squat, but it's hard to do sometimes because your hips get involved and your back has to be strong enough, your torso has to be strong enough for you to support the lowering of the body and then having to interact with gravity as you push back up against that natural resistance. You really a lot of weaker people have to lean in and sort of like generate the momentum to get their bodies back up. Plus, they engage some of the muscles that already, are working a little bit overtime in terms of sedentary living. So you stand up by pressing your heels into the floor and squeezing your butt cheeks. All right, this is a standard squat, and if you can proceed as we're now into the fifth exercise, counting the postural systems check for this workout. The fifth exercise here, you can perform a squat either in an actual chair. Don't let your knees go past the tips of your toes, but lift up slowly by squeezing those butt cheeks and pressing the heels into the floor. Do that for 1 minute at the top of the hour, even if you're not doing any of the other exercises, and you're going to feel your heart rate elevate a little bit. Thus, you're going to get a little boost of energy, and you're going to work those butt muscles a little bit, work the hip muscles a little bit, extend those hip flexors, which helps combat the consequences of all of that sitting that you do. You inhale on the way down, and you exhale as you lift back up. Okay, let's switch gears a little bit here, because the next thing that I want you to do is, if you have a wall, I said this was an exercise routine on your feet, so I'm going to have you, if you don't do push-ups on the floor. Now, if you do push-ups on the floor and you want to get down in the floor and do them, go ahead and do them on the floor. But if you are not a person that executes push-ups in workouts on a regular basis, begin by standing about 2 feet away from the floor, depending on your height. All right, your body is going to create, I love using the word hypotenuse. If I can figure out a way to use the word hypotenuse in a sentence every day, I am a happy person, because I love geometry, and the wall, of course, makes a right angle. So now your body needs to be a straight line. The hypotenuse is your body, and you're going to put your hands on the wall, and you're leaning into your wall by bending your elbows and bringing that straight line, which is your body, the hypotenuse, closer until your forehead is, or your nose maybe, is close to touching the wall, and then you push back out and or up if you're on the floor to complete the cycle. So execute any number of push-ups that you can in a minute as well. I'm not talking about repetitions here, as you may notice, because it honestly doesn't matter as much as a lot of workout specialists want you to think. Yes, doing sets of things multiple times and certain times, that's all very important. But we are trying to form habits here a little bit more with some of these workout podcasts, most of them actually. It's really more about providing you a custom program, a design around a theme that can keep you interested in getting up and starting the day with something, with a routine, even if it's not necessarily, an ab shredding, butt sculpting, hardcore workout. At least you're doing something. And these are all exercises that anyone can do, and they can be ramped up. Bells and whistles can be added on to make them a lot harder. It's like the periodic table of elements from high school chemistry, It's like everything has real basic components, the foundation. And then to make them more difficult, to make them more interesting, we just augment them with other sort of variations, sometimes with weights and resistance. But most of the time, at least in terms of my team at InShape Fitness, we're simply monitoring and then sort of switching the order of things and adding intensity via speed or greater control in order to keep you on your toes, as it were. All right, the other really great reason to conduct push-ups as a function of being stronger on your feet is that this is a move on the floor, at least, that is a direct correlation to strength of your core. So let's do another exercise, standing up on your feet again, that is a lower core targeted move and incorporates that issue that I said before about the right leg versus the left leg. And then we're going to do one more exercise after that, and then I'm going to let you go. So this exercise is called a forward reach. What you do with the forward reach is lift your left arm up in the air. think of your left arm from the tips of your fingers down to the tips of your left toes as a plank of wood, as a single piece of timber, lumber, or whatever, and put your right hand on your hip. Now, you're going to lean forward with the left part of your body. Your right leg is going to stay on the floor. You're going to tree trunk your right leg, right, to squeeze your muscles in terms of your right glute and your right thigh muscles, and you're going to lean forward. As you lean forward with your at your torso, and your left side moves towards the floor, your left arm moves towards the floor, your left leg lifts up off the floor and extends back. And once, if you can, because you're going to get off balance very quickly, but if you can get to the point where the plank of wood is parallel to the floor, right, perpendicular to the right leg or parallel to the floor, then pause. And then think about your right butt cheek, squeeze it, and then right yourself slowly to target that right glute. Now, you can try with the other side. You lift up your right arm, and now the right side of your body, the tips of your right fingertips down to your toes on the right side, that is the side now that's going to be the plank, the piece of lumber or plank of wood, and you're going to try to stabilize on your left leg, left arm on your left hip, and do the same thing. Lower the body until the torso is in a straight line parallel to the floor. Then you use the left butt cheek to lift the body straight up. The left leg stays straight. You don't bend the knee. You might activate your hamstrings a little bit, stretch those hamstrings a little bit, and think about the difference between how difficult it was to complete that exercise with the right side of the body versus the left side of the body. Now, I don't normally do repetitions, but ideally it would be great for you to get to the point where you can execute 5 of those forward reaches, is what we call them, on each side. Okay, the last exercise that we're going to do is going to get your heart rate up a little bit. All right, we're going to do something called a skater hop, because I want to incorporate a little bit of lateral side-to-side action, because the other component of being really strong in terms of being on your feet a lot is that the muscles that support the strength of the body for forward movement and standing up are often they take up their residence on the side of the body, and like the inner thighs, the outer thighs, the muscles that line the outside of the lower leg, and then of course down into the ankles. So if you take a big step out with your left leg, don't turn your toes out, keep your feet facing forward the whole time. Take a step to the left, and then the right leg is going to come to the left, follow, but then go beyond the left leg all the way to the left, and then the right leg is going to lead and go back to the right, and then the left leg follows but continues past the right foot and towards the back to touch down on the floor far to the right, as far to the right as possible. So you're getting this really cool sort of torso twist and hip diagonal movement by extending past that point on the opposite side, and you go back and forth. If you complete, these are called skater hops, complete that exercise for 1 minute. Then, and I'm not going to do this with you, but skater hops for 1 minute would be followed by going right back. I love doing these pyramid sessions, so we're going to just make the suggestion and then I'm going to let you go and you can do it or not do it. But if you are looking for like maybe a half an hour's worth of time to engage in a workout, we've got 1, 2, 3, the postural systems check, the lighthouse, the marching in place, butt kicks with arm circles if you choose to add those in, a squat, the push-ups, wall push-ups or on the floor, and then the forward reach, that stability exercise, followed by the very tippy top, getting your heart rate up with the skater hops. Then you go backwards, complete those forward reaches again, and then the push-ups again for 1 minute. Do a squat for another minute. Finish up then with the butt kicks, the high march, high knee march, a lighthouse, and then take 10 deep guttural in through the nose, out through the mouth breaths to complete the loop. The postural systems check at the end. That's 30 minutes. Your energy is boosted. Your metabolism is lifted. And I hope that you have a really great holiday. I'm going to take next week off. Actually, I'm going to take next week and the following beginning of the week. I will be back with you for another new exercise workout, podcast workout on the 3rd or so of January after my family and I get back from our trip to take a little bit of ski time together and just enjoy getting out of New York City a little bit. So I will see you in 2020. Have a wonderful rest of the holiday. Have a wonderful, happy new year. 2020 is going to be a very exciting year. And we are around, of course, my team and I are in New York City, but we are happy to report that we are developing a new online learning module. So if you are interested in getting in touch with us and working with a member of our team to develop an exercise regimen, whether you want to do it in person or do it online, send us a note through bodybyInShape.com or one of the comments here through the podcast player, and we will get in touch with you. But have a really, really great rest of the holiday season, and I will see you again very soon.